YouTube, what's up with it? It's NVclosetmedgrower, Mr. Big Dookie, our homeboy, and we're back for yet another weekly update. Show y'all what's going on here in the tents. You know, Big Dookie coming over to his spot. So, with no further ado, I gotta say, I've been a little slow making my videos these last couple weeks, ever since I went on vacation. This last week I've had a lot to do in my personal life. You know, I do have a woman and a young daughter and all sorts of things like that that do take a little bit of precedence over my fun here. But I can say everything's back to about normal now, so from this weekly update on, everything should go back to normal. Like, I'm going to do my Free the Bean update this week. I skipped it last week. Also am going to do a solo shot this upcoming week. I didn't do this one this weekend, and I did that for a couple reasons. For one, you can see the purple camo G in the back there is the only plant I have that's really fully budded up here in flower. The other one's got nice little popcorns, but it's the only one that's really super frosty and is ready to do close-ups on, and it's the only one that will be for the next couple weeks. So I decided, you know, I had a lot to do this weekend. I had to work on my car, do things with the family, things like that, so, which was a pain. Car was a whole different pain in itself. Whole rear end brake job that didn't realize I needed calipers till it was taken apart. We'll put it that way. That happens quite often. Another side story. So, yeah, I didn't do a solo shot this week, and that's why. I figure we'll do one next week, probably on this plant, and then by the week after that, that'll give me 2 weeks to let these bud up a little bit, and then we can have a few good samples to do some really nice close solo shots. So that was rather long, but got through a nice little intro. Sorry, I was a little walking back and forth, a little shaky. Let's get some lenses on this and take a good look at that purple camo G, since it's the oldest. Be right back. Alright, that looks a little better. So, purple camo G in the back here is on day 49. You can see it was getting a little bit of magnesium deficiency coming through. You can see on some of the leaves there, like that one there in the center of the screen. And, you know, I more or less fixed that. It got a little bad last week, and whatever, a little bit of neglect, but overall this plant's producing okay for how the purple camo Gs do. My purple camo G is not the best structured plant when it comes to actual bud structure, density, or even the best plant structure. Like, its stem structure is super long and thin and lanky, but as you can see right here, the amount of frost on this stuff is incredible. So this one was getting really floppy, just like the last purple camo G. That's another video I skipped, the last purple camo G I didn't do a harvest video on. And it turned out pretty nice, actually. Not the biggest buds, but it turned out decent. A lot of frost. But yeah, it's rather floppy here. So you see I have these posts that came up from the original tomato cages. I bent them out and tied some string and taped them up. So I kind of, you know, got 3 little points. Here's one of them here too. And one back there, and tied string around it just to keep things a little more centered. That way, you know, as it flops, it won't be too unruly, and I'll be able to pull it around without things breaking too much. As you can see, things already broke a little bit. You know, this one over here, it snapped a little bit, but it's still staying alive. It's getting its nutrients, so can't complain. And then in the back, there's one that did the same. There you go. See? But yet again, it's staying alive. It's rather frosty, and it continues to grow. So that's day 49, purple camo G. Beautiful looking plant. This stalk's the nicest, obviously. Not the biggest buds in the world, by any means. Like, look at my hand next to it. That thing's nothing. But as with a lot of the best quality buds, the yield's not always the most incredible. And the frost level on this is phenomenal, so can't complain about that. Y'all have seen me grow that quite a few times, so I'll come back to it again in the future, but I'm going to do a few runs of some different things before I come back to that lanky, frosty, fun plant. So let's move on to the next oldest in here, which is the Orange OG number 1, which is also on the HPS side of the flower tent. And you can see it's starting to get its frost up. It's on day 22. Little button buds everywhere are looking good. Frost levels coming through spectacular. This is my keeper pheno of the Orange OG after I've smoked them all, tasted them all now. They're all in jars curing. I've also weighed them all. We'll talk about that after we get done in the flower tent. I'll have to say that this one is definitely my keeper, Orange OG number 1. It's the one that had the nicest bud structure, had the best bud density, and it also finished in about 10 weeks, between 10 and 11 weeks. Like, I could have chopped it at 10 at the earliest part of its ripeness, and I think I chopped it just after 11 weeks, and it was about beautiful, about right. So from here on out, I'll just count that as, no, I chopped it a little over 10 weeks, something like that, like 73, 74 days, I think. So either case, I'm going to count that as about a 10-week plant. From here on out, I'm going to try to run that 10 weeks, as long as I can keep it nice and healthy, and then check the trichomes, it should be good. And yeah, beautiful plant. It's bushed out rather nice. This one's in a short fat number 10 pot, so it should have some nice big roots. And honestly, I kind of like the size of this plant. It's filling up my tent, that corner of my tent, beautifully. That pot is a little shorter than the tall number 7s that I use by a couple inches. So I'm able to put some of the taller, lankier plants a little lower in my tent, which helps with the stretch. So I think from here on out, I might go pick up a couple more of those. Kind of want to pick up like 3 more of them total, so I can run 3 of them in there and always have at least one vegging ready for the next plant. So I don't know, might just pick up one more, run 2 of them, keep with the number 7 over here or something. I'll figure it out, but I'm definitely going to get more of them because I definitely like the way, the size of this plant, the way it's bushed out, and how it's growing so far for the size root mass. So I have a feeling I'm going to get some good buds out of it. So that's the HPS side of the tent. Let's move it on to our Grow Blue LEDs. And the next oldest plant we have in the tent is Orange OG number 2. This is my second favorite pheno of the Orange OG, and it grew nice stacked beautiful buds, but it did not, the buds were a lot fluffier than Orange OG number 1. So instead of keeping this one's going to be chopped after this run. At the time I had this and the other pheno both going in my garden though. Pheno number 3 I knew I wasn't going to keep as I started flower, or midway into flower. But seed 1 and seed 2, this is seed 2. See, it stacks up nicely, still makes some rather nice buds. I'm expecting some rather good quality out of this plant here under our Grow Blue LED. And yeah, it's on day 20. So it's mostly done with its stretch. Same thing with the Orange OG number 1 we were just looking at. It might stretch another ½ inch to an inch on most of these nodes, but I think it's pretty much done, and this is where our scrog's going to be, you know. And I think it filled in alright. I mean, it's not completely clear, there's a little bit of gap through here, but overall it's a beautiful, beautiful plant. It's grown along very healthy. There's a little bit of nitrogen toxic over in this corner where it's a little bit lower on light. These parts in here are a little bit lighter, but that's the nature of using this LED. It's blasting a lot higher intensity through here, so everything eats a lot faster. And that's another thing a lot of new growers don't pay attention to. All they think is, I need a specific scheme to give my plants, and that's not the case pretty much at all. What it is you need a specific nutrient scheme that matches your environment. You need something that's going to match both your light intensity and your air quality and your CO2 and your oxygen percentages in your air. All change how quickly your nutrients get used up in your plant. Your oxygen helps because your roots will grow faster if they have a slightly increased amount of oxygen, and also if you have a very good aerating soil. So your soil makes a difference based on how your nutrients are going to uptake. Your air quality makes a difference based on how much CO2 and how much humidity there is. So that changes how much air exchange goes through your leaves. So that will change how much actual minerals are used, especially in the photosynthesis process and that type of thing. So that greatly changes how much nutrients are used. So there's a lot of new growers that specifically want a nutrient scheme, and I mean the nutrient scheme I use for my general hydroponics setup, it works pretty well, and I do decent with it as a generic setup. But trust me, I constantly am slightly changing things here and there based on what my plants are showing me. And this one's growing pretty healthy though. There's almost no signs of issues. Like I said, there's a faint amount lighter greenness here than there is on the edges, but that's because of the difference in light intensity. So the more intense your lights are, the more your plants are going to eat through your nutrients up to the point they're at about its maximum intake. At about, well, with an HPS light, it's about 10,000 lumens per square foot, or about 1,100 lux, or 110,000 lux, somewhere in that range, is about your max unless you blast extra CO2. So, that's something knowledgeable to talk about. And this is growing along rather well. Like, look at this, one of the tallest stalks in it. Look at how nicely stacked it is. See, my thumb there is what, ½ inch, maybe between ½ and ¾ inch wide. So you see the stackings in between each one of those nodes is about the same, all the way up to those top few. So that'll make a nice pull off that strong. But all right, that's enough talking over there. Beautiful plant growing under our Grow Blue LEDs though. Let's take a look at those. These are their full spectrum 180 by 3 watt. This is the same full spectrum proprietary spectrum that they figured out for their lights. So all their full spectrum lights use this exact same spectrum. But I don't believe that these specific 180 by 3s are for sale anymore. I think there's a 5 watt light that's very similar to these in footprint and intensity that replace it now. As well as I know there's a lot of other things upcoming with Grow Blue over the next few months, and a lot changing with that company. So that's a little bit of what's going on there. Let's go to the very last plant here in the flower tent, and this one is looking beautiful. This is a Smoking Aces. This is also from North Genetics, DT North breeder. This plant is Ace of Spades crossed with Tahoe OG. I know it was Kelly Connections Tahoe OG. And the Tahoe OG had, honestly, it's a nice frosty cut. It was a little fluffy, but for whatever reason, the Smoking Aces cut, that everything that's come out of this has always been beautiful. And this grows some nice dense nugs. My homeboy actually has the same cut. He was the one that popped this seed for me after Brookfielder had sent the seeds to me. So, and you see it's getting beautiful. Even though we're looking under the LED and everything's very purple, you see that pink on the inside of the bud. That is a very real pink color showing through, and it's just immaculately beautiful. Like, I don't know. It's hard to show you guys. I can't focus. Sorry, y'all. Well, either case, amazingly beautiful buds, and it's just starting to show through with the little bits of pink. Does grow some nice big round beautiful buds, similar looking I think to blue dream buds. So at least it was under my Homeboy's 1000 water, under that. Well, he had it partly under that for a short while, and then he had it under a Mars 1600 to finish out, and he killed it. I'm definitely going to say that. I think he has it in jars right now. So, but yeah, I look forward to finishing this out. That's day 14 on the Smoking Aces. This thing's beautiful. I need to lollipop it. I haven't yet, but today's the day to lollipop it, and it's getting near the. It's probably got about a week left in the stretch, honestly. So it'll probably get another 3 inches, maybe 4 inches at the most on pretty much all these node sites. So should end up with a rather nice harvest out of that. I'm real excited for this plant. Like I say, everything's looking real well in flower. Super healthy, super healthy, super healthy, and mediocre healthy, but super frosty. So cannot complain at all about flower. So as I said, in between switching over to that, we are going to talk about some orange OGs. Let's walk over to the boards. Alright, this is my nutrient board. Y'all can look at it real quickly as we go down. That's what I do for my basics, but like I said, everything gets slightly changed based on the needs of my plant. And there's some strain specifics on plants I've been running and how I change my nutrient scheme, or the basics of my nutrient scheme, to match the strains. You know what I mean? This one's a lighter feeder, that one's a heavier feeder. It's just all there is to it. So, either case, Orange OG weight results. Here was the 3 Orange OG plants I had in number 5 pots. Orange OG number 3 took little over 12 weeks to finish, to have the trichomes finish about the same as the other 2. So the other 2 were probably the same pheno with real different qualitative showing, you know, just, well, slightly different other than that. But our best bud structure definitely here, super dense, little over 10 weeks and still got 72 grams, killed it. This one, the best bud stacking, super frosty still. Honestly, all 3 of them probably had about the same amount of frost. Like, quality is pretty awesome. But the weight wasn't quite there, even though the stacking was beautiful. It was really fluffy. It filled up the same amount in a jar as this, with being that much shorter in weight. Now, number 3, like I said, took 2 more weeks to finish, but because of that 2 weeks, it definitely put on a little more weight. It was about as fluffy as number 2, so it was also a fluffier bud structure. Didn't get nice and dense like number 1 did, but it definitely put on more weight like number 1. Like I said, that's also because it finished about 2 weeks later. It was a longer running plant, and the leaves were a hair narrower on it. You know, as it got later into flower, you could really see the sativa come through on it. So it's definitely more of a sativa phenotype here. Completely different phenotype than the other 2, but not worth keeping. The best one was this cut of this phenotype. So right here, we're keeping. That's our Orange OGs. Ooh, we're already 19 minutes in, and I got quite a bit more to talk to you guys with, though. Wanted to make this a nice update for you guys since I haven't done it much in a little bit. So let's get right into veg. You see we got a big old Smurfberry here, my Smurfberry F1. I just harvested one not long ago, so when the Purple Chem OG in the corner comes out in about 3 weeks, that's what's going to be replacing it. By then that should be a nice monster sized plant. might have a little more root mass than I want because it's already been in there for like 2.5, 3 weeks. So it'll be 6 weeks in that number 7 pot. And it's going to be a rather large root mass. The good thing is my Smurfberry barely stretches at all. So even in another 3 weeks, this is not going to be over-vegged at all. I'm going to be able to throw it in there, let it stretch, and just have it sit on the ground and probably fill out my canopy beautifully. You know, because it grows real slow in veg, and it stretches barely at all. So, but it's definitely got a lot of node sites on it. You can see where I've been topping it here and there and there and there, all the way through. Quite a few node sites. I do need to trim it up. I'm thinking about trimming off like most all this down here. Also, you can see where there's some nutrient problems before. My homeboy gave this to me when it was already like, you know, it was already rooted and like 3 weeks into veg. So it was a decent sized plant. Not huge, but decent sized plant. Could have been flowered if it wanted to in like a number 3 pot. But that's where it is. So now let's move it on. These are my 2 Beyond Dreams. These are for Smokes a Lot Johnny for the bean. These are grow along plants. I didn't make my video last week. I was, you know, just came back into town, had a lot going on as I was talking about, but these plants are beautiful. I did some FIM technique earlier on these and this, and you can see it's definitely coming through with all sorts of crazy tops and crazy growth. There's like 4 or 5 tops all throughout there. Same thing with this one. And then I top this one, and they're starting to come through, as you can see on this front one. So that's turning into a beautiful bush. And I thought I seen the faintest, real thin piece coming off where it should have where a pre-flower would have been. So I'm thinking this one might be sexed into a female. Like, it's really hard to tell on pre-flowers, and I'm not the greatest at it, but pretty sure this one's going to end up being a female, and it's growing like it. This one, I have not seen any nodes of growth on the pre-flower areas yet, so I don't know what it's going to be. But as you can see, it's definitely looking better. It's still hanging down a little bit, and that's only because it got super dried out. I did flush it, like I said, at my last weekly update I was going to do. And within 2 days, I had all the leaves spraying back up beautifully. I was spraying just like this one was, like leaf sitting level, not necessarily super praying, not like those up there. But, you know, they were definitely much happier. And I let it get a little too dry because it's eating faster than this one, and I was just being lazy. Went a little day, and this morning it was a little droopy. I just fed it about 2.5 to almost 3 hours ago, and it's already starting to perk back up, though. You can see some of the leaves standing back up, so that's that. Now, 2 more to talk about. Rather cool. I got 2 seeds that I've had for a long time, actually. I actually won these in a contest from Mr. Brookfielder, DTE North, and this contest was one of the reasons why I started my YouTube channel in the first place. I had entered this contest because I wanted some more strains to run. I didn't really have any, didn't want to have a lot of money to invest in my setup. I was growing in a closet, hence the name. And, you know, I won the contest for some of his strains for the Smurfberries, and then the original contest was for 1 seed of this, 1 seed of this. So this is a rare dankness, Blue Ox. It hasn't popped through the soil yet, but I have seen a taproot on both of these. This one, I believe, is from Federation Seeds, the Mikado, but this is a back cross from it, so I don't know what it was crossed with. All I know is it was you know, a stabilized back cross back to the Mikado strain from Federation Seeds. So, and this is almost a pure indica, and then obviously it's a back cross, so I might have some minor gene tampering from some sativas in there, but it was almost pure indica originally, whereas Blue Ox, I believe, is a hybrid, a blueberry flavored hybrid that should be pretty interesting from rare dankness. So I've actually heard mediocre things about this. I've heard a lot of the cuts of this Blue Ox turn out real fluffy, but it is insanely frosty. If you get the right cut, it has mediocre density, but the frost and flavor is well worth it. So hopefully we get a good cut of it. If not, you get real fluffy frosty. So if not, we'll run it once or twice and that'll be it. The Mikado, I'm pretty happy about that. Hopefully that gets growing well and we have another fun indica to play with. So that's the plants anyways. They're looking beautiful. 25 minutes in, y'all see how the garden's growing. Alright, one more thing I want to go over. You see the Smurfberry closet cut seeds. I haven't gone through them yet, but they've been sitting here drying out. I leave the container open here in the dry desert air here in southern Nevada, and they're definitely getting to about the point they're ready. So I said I was going to do a contest when I got back for some of these, and I haven't yet, but I can definitely let you guys know I am going to make it and post a contest video this week for that to give back to my subs, and I'm probably going to send through 5 winners with 5 seeds each that I'm going to send through as a souvenir. So don't be posting no guesses on this video, but that's what's coming up. Sometime this week we're going to have a contest. I'm probably going to leave it open for 1 week. You'll see it when we get there. Now let's look at some fun stuff. These are my bud collection. These are some different buds I've grown since I've been growing on YouTube. This is my Purple Pheno of the training day. This is the last bud I have of this, plus I don't have any of this cut left. Kind of wish I did. Seed was gifted to me from Chris Cronick. It was a limited time seed from DNA Genetics, and it's Arcata Trainwreck crossed with LA Confidential. This was the better of the 2 phenos I got of it, of the 2 seeds. Turned out incredibly purple. This stuff is awesome. It's real fuely and Windexy though, and that's really not my flavors, so I kind of phased it out. But honestly, I wish I didn't. It's really nice dense bud, and you see this one's been curing for like 8-9 months. Still has some decent color to it, and good trichomes on it. So that one's Training Day Purple Pheno. Definitely one of my favorites in my collection. These are buds I keep, by the way. I'm starting to make myself a collection of just buds I hold on to, so different strains I finish. This is a Smurfberry F1. This one, this bud actually came from the Big Smurf. If you guys haven't seen that harvest video, that one's a pretty popular video of mine, something like 8,000 views or so. But it was a big old freaking Smurfberry. You guys have seen my Smurfberry F1 before. So this is probably like a 6-month-old bud or so. Looking beautiful, nice and frosty. That's our Smurfberry. Purple Chemo G is next. And this bud actually I took from plant a little bit ago that I grew here in the spot I'm in now. I wish I would have kept a bud from the one I did for the How to Grow series. That Purple Chem was, honestly, even though it was the first one, was probably the nicest one I've grown yet. But yeah, definitely frosty. You guys know how the Purple Chem OG does it. Some good looking bud. That's that one. One more to look at, then we'll get out of here. The newest to the collection, Orange OG. This is the pheno I'm keeping. This is the Orange OG #1. This is my bud I'm going to keep for the collection here. Some frosty fire. And that's our Orange OG. Seeds were gifted to me from Miss Badass Jones. And this Orange OG itself is a cut of True OG crossed with Romulan, True OG crossed with Cinderella 99, then crossed with Romulan. And then stabilized out. And this is, out of the 3 seeds I had, this is my favorite cut of it. Beautiful bud. So, got a lot coming up. Definitely going to be back to business as usual. Much love to all my subs. Hope y'all had a wonderful week. Hope y'all had a wonderful weekend. And me and Big Dookie are out of here. I'll actually see y'all tomorrow for Free the Bean update. Peace.